Welcome back to Wedlocked and Loaded.
Wedlocked and loaded.
You women.
Do not lump us all in one category.
So you girls, and lie and stretch the truth
You
and try
girls,
to get us jammed up.
First of all, I'm a whole ass woman, right? Think about
No
that.
disrespect.
Sounds like it to me. So why can't y'all? What is it with men that they just can't walk away?
Depends how good it is. You don't want to give that away.
Greetings, everyone. New episode of Wedlocked and Loaded. I am Daniel Laurent.
And I am Leah Nicole.
We are back again in this crazy, uncertain world that we're in. Just all the stuff is starting. It's been so much devastation. And it's not even the end of January. But, you know, stay in the light, stay positive, do what you need to do for yourself and your families and all that good stuff. Because I'm only saying that because that's what I'm practicing in real time. What has been going on with you, Leah? You have been, you're not so much of a mixy city girl. You've been down. So what's it been like being, confined, minus my authoritative wishes?
I mean, I feel like that's kind of like a setup question because, first of all, I was never a city girl.
Definitely.
Never a city girl.
There's photo evidence of that.
If I've gone out with my girlfriends,
Doesn't matter.
It does matter because,
Nope.
anyway, never been a city girl. However, it is. I mean, it's cold, so it's not that bad on the grand scheme of things. I think, but overall, it's actually been a little bit tough. Mentally, it's been tough. Emotionally, it's been tough. It's different. I think it more so for me because I'm used to getting up and doing and being, right? Whenever I want. But I think that lately, it hasn't been such. And I find myself struggling just to do basic things. So, it's not a matter of being able to be outside and be around folks and all the things. It's just it's a matter of not having the strength or the energy, just basically the capacity to just do what is natural to me without feeling some type of way, whether it's fatigue, whether it's pain, whatever it is. This is different. This is real different. And I think more so than anything, this is different. But I guess I should ask you, how do you feel?
And just so, I mean, was it, did you mention what happened in the past episode or no?
I don't think that it was spoken about, but in terms of how it happened, no.
But you said what it was.
Yeah, I mean, and for those who haven't caught, and it wasn't like the last episode, I don't believe. I think we did talked about it briefly just the first episode back from the new year. But I don't have a problem with it. I am recovering from a concussion. That was a pretty bad concussion. I'm recovering from a pretty bad concussion.
And I promise I didn't do it, guys, because that will be a bad hit, no pun intended, of the Cry for Me, DV, fighting guy, fighting against all the stuff. And then, I suck my old lady. So
You can suck your old lady.
You can suck your whole family, mom, sister, and watch Uncle Steve suck himself.
it wasn't me, guys. Just want to put that on the record and have it documented, just in court, in case court evidence. I want to put that clearly on the record. So, how does it feel for me? I feel there's a bunch of different emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sad for you because I think that will you stop fidgeting, Spinner?
I'm sorry.
I feel sad for you in the sense of, it changes your norms, but on the other end, like, that's literally what happens. You get into a car accident, or you trip and fall, and now you have a sprained ankle or broken leg, or you're playing basketball, having a 2-on-2, and you tear your Achilles, and like your life has changed temporarily.
And
so part of me, is just like, well, this is just what it is. I'm happy that you are not alone going through it. Because there are many people who live alone or who are single and who are, trying to find their person. And then this happens.
Right.
And it's just really like, what do you do? Right. And not everyone has a family in a village and all of that stuff. And they, the family could do more taking than pouring in. So with my sadness comes, well, it always can be worse. And, you still have your functions. It's not as if you are in a vegetative state, right? And it's not so extreme where like you can't move. It just, life has a way of forcing you to slow down, even if you don't want to. So that's a couple of emotions. The other one is there's a sense of frustration because, my norm of like talking to you or saying something, like if I say something and I move on and do something else, like your retention is different in this moment. And so like you may very well not remember what I said, or, you might have spaced off a little bit where you're not even listening, or you don't hear me the same. Right. And so that's a thing. And it's like, I have to remind myself of like, it's different if you're physically like in a wheelchair, or, I know you're blind, or I know you're hearing impaired. Right. But like, I see you and you present as normal, quote unquote. And so I forget like, she's okay. All right. And the other part I'll say is similar to COVID, there is a certain piece, I mean, with the exception of you being up to your own devices and injuring yourself in the house, right? Part of me just wants you to just like stay put and just ring a bell whenever you need something at this point.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Because it's just kind of ridiculous. But similar to, the pandemic, when all of us were home, there's a certain, there's a reduction of anxiety to know that, my other half is safe and sound at home, and not, driving down the street and somebody, blows through a red light. Or you happen to go get coffee and somebody, that's the moment somebody comes in and wants to like,
Just
rob the place.
Yeah.
So, there's a certain sense of that. But then, lastly, I'll say like, and we spoke about it earlier, but like, with you being down, it gives you forced time. You're not in your 100% state, so you can't necessarily, be doing like DIY projects and stuff you wanted to catch up on, and you just never had the time because, you'll get really tired or whatever. But I just don't want you to, because you're recovering, be so still, that the physical movements and things that you would typically do, it's muscle memory. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
clearly you don't stay in the bed all day, but like you were a person going to like hit classes and this, that, and the third, doing 2 classes a day and all that nonsense, which I would always, I have my feelings about that.
Mm-hmm.
But to go from that to like nothing,
Yeah.
and it's been a while, I'm like,
Yeah.
So, but again, man, I'm appreciative that you are not going through this alone, and it's not a situation where, this is a point in my life where like things have changed for me and I'm on tour across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to take this moment right now because this is going to set up the next whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I have to like, rely on the kids or your girlfriends to help. Like it's comforting of like, okay, I got it. So,
So how does it feel being my chauffeur?
I don't know. I mean, it's not an obnoxious thing.
Yeah.
I think if it was something where like I had to like bring you around all multiple places and doing different things and like completely rearranging schedules to do that, I would feel a little differently. But now it's in the my pleasure phase, my pleasure stage of like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like the reality is the light bothers you, and so you're not doing a whole bunch of like, I need to do this during the daylight, and instead of, it's almost treating you like a newborn baby. Like all the effort it takes for you to like get dressed and make sure you have your glasses and get in the car, I might as well just go and do it. But I also want you to get outside and get some fresh air. It's fucking freezing. So I don't know what that does for you, but
Yeah. I mean, speaking
you're a
of that,
vampire right now.
it definitely feels like it. I feel like I felt a little, I mean, I don't want this whole segment to be about this, but I definitely felt a way, when, our oldest daughter asked me, when are you going to go outside? you know? And it's just like, I think for me, it definitely put things into perspective because literally it's been what, 2 months? 2 months?
Yeah. Well, that proves my point at the top of the show. Because you are such a city girl. Like, it's literally abnormal for you to be home so much. If you were home, it would be like, oh, this is old hat.
I am home.
Okay.
I am typically home. However,
Goalpost moving. No more shoes.
Anyway, I'm typically home. Yeah. So don't do me like that. I think it's just, I think the times that I have been out and it just was, it's now noticeable, like, oh snap, like, she's really, and again, I never like asked her, hey, like, okay, well, why are you asking me that? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it because, like, are you feeling sorry for me? Like, what is it? You're
in a way. Like when she needs to use the bathroom,
I'm not in a way, please. And there's 2, so it's not like, don't do that.
Well, either way.
But anyway.
Yeah. So, in time, I think it's again, man, life has this way of playing out.
I'll tell you what, though, I damn sure don't need to be sat down the way I've been being sat down. Like, it's been pretty crazy.
How so?
Just thinking about all the time, all the ways in which, I was sat down.
The injury stuff?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
You just be doing shit. You know, you're almost like, again, it's like it's like that stage of like 3 to 5 year old where
So
you're like walking around a corner and you smack your head into the corner of the cabinet. Of course you smack your head in the corner of the cabinet. Or you're running across the kitchen and you slam your face into the glass table.
I mean,
Or we're
that's
walking down the steps and you trip and fall and you tumble. And now you're in an arm cast.
mm-hmm.
It's like, and the bottom line is you just want to be taken care of like a baby.
Who
But
does?
you.
No,
But
I don't.
I disagree. But you have such a smart mouth where like that's just an oxymoron because it's just not going to work.
So
But I digress.
clearly it is working, right? Because you're doing it.
Anyway.
Okay.
So this was shared for a couple of reasons. One, of just being transparent. Two, you know, it can always be worse, right? And there are people who are listening who are going through more, or there are people listening going through less, you know, and it gives a perspective. Like, you know, I was talking to someone, and kind of transparent, but I won't be so detailed. But I was talking to somebody about like, you know, I had a tax thing and, you know what I'm saying, I took care of it and blah, blah, blah. And I said what my number was, and they was like, you know, I'm blah, blah, blah. And, you know, theirs was like triple what mine was, you know. And I was like, yikes.
Right.
And to have that type of number, it's like, all right, let me stop complaining.
Right. I think I want to like go back to something that you said earlier, right? And I feel like, you know,
City girl?
it's easy to and only because this came up this came up when I was talking to my therapist today, actually. She definitely like used the comparison of like being in a cast, or you know what I'm saying, like having a torn ACL or something like that, where you can physically see that you're at a disadvantage because, you know, something, you can see that whatever that thing is not working properly, right? And, you know, with the brain, because I question it too, and I'm just you know, I guess there's just a lot of confusion around like, damn, this sucks, because, you know, on some days I feel perfectly fine, right? In a sense of, and maybe because I, you know, if I'm looking in the mirror, I'm like, gosh, like I can, like, it looks like my regular self, right? So there's no real reminder of like, yo, you're not 100%, right? Because I can't look down and see that my leg is in a cast, or my fingers in a splint, or, you know, my arm is in a whatever it is, right?
And there's nothing to measure for your
there's
healing.
nothing to measure,
Yeah.
right? And so, you know, and I think it sucks because it's like there's no telling really what will like there's no telling what would really like set me off, where I'm having a, you know, a headache that feels like death, you know, because literally that's what they feel like when they come on. Or, you know, if you know, there's just no way of knowing when those things are gonna onset. So I lost it. I was going somewhere with it and I lost it.
Well,
but yeah,
I think also, I mean, everyone's concussions will play out differently, but I think, you know, like COVID, it impacted people differently that had pre-existing conditions. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you had familiarity with migraines previous, and so it then.
So yeah, I think that is something, right? Like if you have any, and no one would know offhand that would be considered. So the neurologist shared with me, if you have been diagnosed with migraines or have suffered from migraines at any point, your healing would take a little bit longer. If you have had depression, your healing will take a little bit longer, right? Some people get seasonal depression. Some people get depression, just have experienced depression throughout the year, right? Like it's not specified to seasonal, but that is a part of their mental illness, right?
Hmm.
But again, those are the things that are not so evident. And a lot of times you don't know how those things affect your brain, right? Oh, I get a headache every now and then, or I get migraines every now and then. No big deal. Like when it happens, you move on. You take the meds, you do whatever, and you move on. You're not thinking that, oh, well, if this happens down the line, then that will affect me a lot more than if I did not experience those things.
Hmm.
So that's where I am. I did step out for the first time, and that was a lot. It was a whole lot. But I was able to find some solace in the ladies' room. And then when that got too busy, I found a little corner to be in. But glasses in hand, on face, earplugs in. Thanks, babe, for those.
Oh, you had those in?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. The whole night?
So, if you saw me and you spoke to me and all I did was grin and shake my head, sorry. I can't say that I knew what you were saying.
Yeah, well, okay. I didn't know that, but all right. Yeah, shout out to Imari and the good folks over at Embrace. It was a sneaker gala. And a lot of good quality folks in the room. And just dope. But I can imagine, I mean, we walked in, it was super sensory overload. It was just a lot happening. It was lights flickering.
It was a lot
people
happening.
Shoulder to shoulder, people walking around with food, offering you something, somebody talking to you as you're trying to figure out if you want something. My stomach was growling. I was annoyed because it's snowing. I'm just like, are we gonna leave and it's gonna be up to our ankles? It was a lot,
It was a lot happening. I feel like
it was fly though.
In terms of
people look good.
For me, in terms of walking in, it was like I just hadn't been around so many people in quite some time. And honestly, it's been a while. I was expecting the lights coming in to be a lot brighter. So I was pleasantly surprised by the room not being really, really lit up. And I think, they did it that way because of the armbands that folks had on. So like that, for me, like that helped me,
I would think the flickering
So,
but you can choose not to look at somebody's stuff.
right.
Yeah.
And the glasses that I had on were, they were pretty darkening.
Hmm.
Um um but like I said, when it did become too much, I knew what I needed to do and I did what I needed to do. But I guess, one of the things for me, like even going in, I feel like this, like I feel like I've had anxiety. I've had anxiety before, but it was like low level, right? But going in, it just was like, holy shit, this was not the best idea, um and I you know I don't know, it probably wasn't the best idea, but per usual, anytime I do something, like I'm legit 100% down the next day, right? And it wasn't like we were out for 5-6 hours, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it's interesting. And all I can do is go with the flow in terms of, like, my healing, my recovery, I should say. But beyond that, like, I definitely want to give a shout out to you all, meaning you and our children, for for stepping up, even when I'm not even verbally asking you to do said things. Like, you guys are doing it, and I absolutely appreciate the efforts that um that are being made to assist me in my recovery. Yeah.
The tabs are running up, so
Oh, I'm not worried.
you'll get a hefty bill.
I'm not really
Once this is
worried.
all, don't be worried, because it's a wasted. That's a wasted emotion. It is what it is. It's already in play, my love. But you look.
I've prepaid,
Get the fuck out of here.
so I'm
In the
not
words
worried.
of you, get the fuck out of here. Ain't that how you say it?
Nope.
Exactly. Anyway, I think it was dope for you to get, like, loved on. Pardon the pun, but get loved on while you were there. Definitely, like, some genuine, like, oh my God. And I seen somebody, and shout out to her, she was going super crazy. She was drinking, going super crazy, dancing, getting low. I feel like she was singing, like, the infamous "Used to Be Scared of It," right? I seen her the following, the next morning. I seen her the next morning at the MLK breakfast, limping, walking like she was 70 years old. And I said, yup, that's how it plays out, baby. That's how it plays out. And I told her in real time, yo, you better, but in the moment, y'all be all lit off those adult libations, that fire water, whatever your pleasure is.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
all right. So there was something that we've been meaning to talk about, I guess. It was a while ago, but we saw a clip earlier and wanted to bring it up because we realized we never spoke about it. So there's definitely been some talk light about Russell Wilson and Ciara and their relationship, and people criticize it for various reasons, whether they're hating or whatever. But there is a genuine sentiment from some folks about, possibly controlling or abusive behavior, in the sense of every time Ciara kind of pops out with a venture or new record or something, a brand ambassador deal or something, like clockwork, a couple of months later she's pregnant and now she's back in the house. And wanted to kind of see what your thoughts are on that. Like, what do you feel about that?
We're not in. I don't, clearly don't know these folks personally. And it absolutely, can be, something that, they something that they have planned. You know what I mean? Um, but if not, I can possibly see and understand how, um, impregnating your spouse or your significant other, constantly doing so, can be deemed as can be looked at as a form of abuse, right? Because when we think about, um the, right now, that, this couple, both of them are well off, they're well to do, right? But if it's the average person who is not making millions of dollars per year, um it absolutely can be looked at as a form of abuse, because of the financial restraint that creates, right?
Mm-hmm.
um so what do you think?
How do you just stop in the middle of a thing?
Because I don't know what I was gonna I don't.
Well, I don't know. I never quite thought about it, but when I did think about it in that moment, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
The
Because it is.
financial control and the physical, right? The mental, like, it's all,
I think when people hear abuse, they typically always go to the
the
physical.
physical, right? No, but the mental,
And he seems like a nice guy,
yeah.
and like, that's part of, I need a Russell Wilson in my life, and this, that, and third. And then guys are like, he's a sucker, he's a simp, and he's blah blah blah, or he's corny, and but I don't know. I mean, definitely an attractive woman, definitely has a sex appeal, and that's part of her brand and her image.
Right. So, like, I guess let's take this particular couple out, right? And just go with the average Joe and Simone, right? Who are just average across the board, right? And maybe the guy is average, whatever, look wise, doesn't matter, but just an average couple, who, every time she's, maybe she's a stay-at-home mom for a little while she's at home, she's getting a she's bettering herself by, whether she's taking courses, online courses, getting her degree, or getting a few degrees, whether she's becoming certified in something, whatever, and she ventures out, and then it's like, oh, okay, so now she's bringing, money to the table. Well, she's bringing an equal, she's on equal playing field financially, and then it's just like, okay, oops, now you're pregnant again, so now you have to stop doing that job, right? And then you have to keep on, like, it's a constant thing, where now it's like, okay, well, forget it, I won't go back out there.
But that was the original intention anyway.
For the guy.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, sure, there's definitely truth to it.
That barefoot and pregnant mentality. Keep them in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant.
I just don't, and definitely matters if, it should matter if you have the means to support. But clearly there are people that have a ton of kids and they don't have the means to support, which is a whole other issue.
Right.
But I just don't, I never thought about having a big family in that regards. Like, I never thought about, I want to have 6 kids or like, that thought process is so far from my orbit. Like I don't even understand that thought process.
So I wanted to have 4 in my mind. And I think, it makes a difference, right? Like you grew up with siblings, I grew up with none, right? Excuse me, I grew up with none. I am the oldest in my family. I am the oldest. I'm the first, I'm the oldest grandchild. I'm just, I grew up with none, right? And so in my mind, at first I was never having any children, right? But then when I was like, oh, okay, then when I had my first child, it was like, oh, I don't want any more. But then it was like, actually, you know what? I wouldn't mind 4 kids. Now, in my head, it made sense because it would be the way that I thought I was going to plan it was I would have one child for every season.
That's some scheduled fucking.
Oh yeah. Love making.
Tomato.
No, there's a difference. Well, for some of y'all it is.
No doubt.
But yeah, so but that absolutely changed, right? Like first two, and it only changed because, I feel like for me, and maybe she has great pregnancies, right? Not everybody has great pregnancies, and not everybody is scarred by their pregnancies, right? For me, I feel like my pregnancies, like I enjoyed being pregnant, like I enjoyed being pregnant. So that wasn't an issue, right? For some, they have really tough pregnancies and it's just they become scarred from it. So let's say that she has, this person has great pregnancies and has always dreamt, possibly, well, maybe say she dreamt about having 3 kids, but now, they're on number 7. That's a vast difference.
But I don't understand, like, what happens at 4? What happens at 5?
I mean,
like, why? I just don't.
Because I think a lot of times, again, like, whether we want to admit it or not, when we are in relationships, you know what I mean? Like the idea is to please, right? So I'm gonna please my husband.
Man, that's a different level.
But it can be.
Yeah, that's a different level.
It can be.
I'm cool. Like that's not my version of pleasing me at all.
Well, it is, right? In the sense of you're being intimate, right? And you're busting up all up in the guts, right?
Man, look.
You enjoy that part of it, don't you?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Of course you don't.
Yeah. So all right. I mean, God bless. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't have an opinion on their situation per se, but I thought that was, it's a different perspective when we talk about intimate partner abuse, right? Or intimate partner violence. I don't know. What do we call? I guess we'll call it
intimate IPV, intimate partner violence.
Right.
Yeah. You have something else?
No.
All right. So there was a clip that you shared, and I'm gonna try to slow it down because it was sped up, which is kind of obnoxious. But let's play that now, and then we can talk about it on the other side.
I think a man who leads but does not honor his wife's voice I think he sets himself up to be hurt. My wife is more intuitive than me in some areas. She may be wiser than me in some areas. She may come around people say, I don't like that woman around you. I don't like this thing.
David, the serving be sharp.
Yeah. Honey, when you said that in the pulpit, you should have said that. You should have. So for me, it looks like early in my marriage, I was aggressive. I was prideful. I was arrogant. I would not listen to my wife or my kids if they tried to rebuke me. I just didn't have the humility to do that. Wow. I've grown now in my 40s to a place of humility where my oldest kids, I got three teenagers and one in college. They can come to me and say, Daddy, you know, when you said this, that hurt me. And I know how to apologize. Or I allow them space to kind of reason a little bit. Like, you know, you're saying this, but this is what we feel. And I've apologized. I allow space for my wife to gently rebuke me and come talk to me. It's like, honey, this is the way you made me feel. You shouldn't have said this. When you act this way, this is what it feels like being on the other side of you when you behave this way. And so I think now for me, I think too many men think it's not manly to acquiesce to when somebody's confronting you in your home. They think it's not manly to do that. I think it shows more masculinity to show humility to say I'm wrong.
Because it's not instinctive.
So for me, I'm trying to teach my two sons, real men know how to apologize, right? Men, I teach my sons, real men own their crap. Like when you smell like crap, own that. When you make a mistake, own that. When you fall short, own that. Like real men, we own that. Like I think we are weak when we deflect.
That's good.
We are weak when we make excuses. We are weak when we can't acknowledge we are wrong. I think it takes more strength to say you're wrong. So I think biblical masculinity is both leading well, loving well, discipling well, but having the humility to say, I made a mistake. I'm wrong. I can course correct.
I don't know. I feel like we go through that in the sense of my personal feeling is that when it comes to my tone or my words, I feel like you are a little too sensitive and it becomes a burden and not fair. However, I know what it's like to say something and you say something repeatedly and you're not being heard. And so that's frustrating. And so if you're saying like, hey, you know, when you hug me, you're hugging me too tight. And I'm like, well, this is how I hug. It's really frustrating. So I'm in a quandary when it comes to that. I mean, I try to keep it in mind and try to be mindful. But also, I think the core of me, I feel like when I'm home, I'm comfortable. I don't wear bras, but like, you know, women come home and they take their bras off, right? Like you, if you're walking around or doing something, you know, you'll sometimes look crazy and you'll never take pictures and post that, or you'll never go outside wearing that, or you'll never invite somebody over wearing that, but you're comfortable. And it's not for me to judge you and say like, ill, and not talk to you or hug you or even be intimate, because like you're home and you're comfortable. So that is what it is. And I don't feel like I'm nasty where I'm like, yo, give me something to fucking drink. But because I don't say, hey baby, can you make me a glass? Can you make me can you pour me a glass of water? Hey baby, can you pour me a glass of water, please? I might just say, like, can you pour me some water? But that in turn comes out not nice. But I'm like, yo, I don't, like, why do we have to, there's a time and place. I don't feel like that needs to be all the time. I don't know. And I might be going on a thing, but yeah. I don't feel like that needs to be, you know, in the moment you want what you want and you're asking a person that knows you and loves you, and hopefully there's some grace, and you just want to, like, if I want the remote, hey, pass me the remote, babe. Not, baby, can you please pass me the remote?
Right, but
Like, I'm
even
not
in
gonna
that
talk like that.
example, there was right some sharpness, right? And I don't. I think it's what you're referring to for me is a little bit different from what I received from the clip. So I think it's not just about the tone, right? It's about the communication. And so one of the things that stuck out was that, like, he used to like if the wife would say, hey, I don't like when such and such is around you, or like, they make bad decisions, or such and such is flirting with you, what's going on there, right? He would be he's saying, like, he would be very dismissive of what she's saying, but he had to realize, and even the children, right? He had to realize that what they were saying wasn't an attack against him, but in his mind, his masculinity for him meant to lead and be the authority. Whereas as he grew wiser, he understands that some of the things that, like he understands that, to be masculine or to live in your masculinity doesn't mean that you are always the authority. It means that you can be corrected in your stance. So it's not always about being right, but it's also about accepting when you are wrong. So I think it's, for him, it was more so, again, this is my take on it, right? It was more so him opening up his mind and being more understanding, and not just listening for what's being said, but also listening to what's not being said. But more so not taking what's being said as a direct jab at who he is as a person. Because it doesn't, it wasn't, it's not directed, that way. Back to what you were saying. Excuse me, back to what you were saying. I get wanting to, I think we code switch all day, all the time, one way or another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that, folks, who have been together for quite some time can get real fucking comfortable with one another, right? And also, if you are your partner's friend, that level of comfortability can also be a little bit exaggerated, right? I think that there's still a required level of respect. So I don't expect for you to baby me to death, right? Baby this, baby that, baby, 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 baby. No, I don't expect for that, right? What I do expect is, if I'm saying to you, try to say that, say that in a better way, meaning your tone is a little bit high and your delivery is also sharp. I'm not liking the way that feels when I'm hearing what you're saying, so please adjust it. partially because I don't want to be set off, and now we both talking to each other like I'm talking to you crazy, and now I didn't triggered you, but meaning like I've upset you, right? And so now we're in an argument over nothing.
But you don't think that ends up happening anyway?
Yeah, when you don't listen. I understand coming home wanting to take your bra off. Well, I understand that part because I am a woman. But come home, take your bra off, and just, kick your feet up, relax. I get it. You don't want to have to be putting on for the put on. I understand it all. But even with that, even with my understanding, I'm still not coming home to you. And not that you say this to me. You know what I'm saying? Not, I guess look at it like this. I'm home, you get home, or vice versa, in terms of you're home and I get home. And then you're like, hey babe, can you, or I'll use the example that you used about the remote, right? Imagine me coming home like, now we're comfortable in the bed, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, pass me the fucking remote. Like, would you appreciate that?
Exactly.
I
don't talk to you like that. I've used that example.
My point is,
my mind goes to the extreme, and I don't do that. So me not being super baby warm fuzzy, I feel like gets interpreted right into that. So, and I know I'm not doing that.
So if I'm saying to you, so just because
if you take the fucking out, if you be like, can you pass me the remote? If you say it just like that, you pass me the remote, I don't see in my spirit feeling like, damn, what the fuck is wrong with your tone? I don't feel like I would put the time into, can you ask me differently? I don't feel like I would put that investment in. Because
but you would absolutely ask what's wrong.
I would ask what's wrong. If you say nothing, because we've also done this.
No, when focus here, stay here.
It's related.
It's not.
If I ask you what's wrong and you don't answer me, but I definitely notice that something's off, what's wrong and I then don't feel like being a detective and trying to snoop through. I feel like we're both mature enough to say either what the problem is, or you might just need time to process and you don't know.
Or I say nothing. I'm just relaxed. I'm at home. I shouldn't have to put on. Like my point is that you would not accept that. One, I'm not going to talk to you like that or anyone like that unless I actually have a problem with them. I don't care how relaxed I am, how comfortable I am. Now, I jokingly, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like if we're talking or you're saying some crazy stuff and we're playing around, you know what I'm saying? Like we're in I don't know, like we're in a light spirited mood, right? And like you say something, I'll be like, shut the fuck up, right? But like even that, some people can say that's mad disrespectful.
Yeah.
To tell your husband or your spouse to shut the fuck up. But for me, if I'm saying it in that way, right? There's some lighthearted in my mind. It can be deemed as disrespectful. However, you know me, you know us, and I'm saying it in a lighthearted way. So there's no way that you should take it as me being disrespectful to you.
No.
Right? But we've been around.
What if I did? How would that go?
So then I would hope that you would be like, babe, don't, that makes me feel X, Y, and Z way.
And you would just take that and respect it.
I would like for you not to do that or say that to me.
You wouldn't feel like I was being a snowflake.
No, it would be me respecting your feelings. Like everything doesn't make you corny or snowflake. Like, and that's what
everything.
That's what I feel like. That's what he's saying, right? Like, it's not corny of me to listen to what my wife is saying when she's trying to bring something to my attention or redirect me. It's not corny for me as a man to listen to what issues my children have instead of me shutting them down and not listening at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me less of a man to do so. If anything, it makes me more of a man.
I don't feel like the things are corny or less than a man. Like that's not the feelings.
I'm not saying that that's what you personally are feeling, but I'm just saying.
And like, you know, I think that, and I'm certainly guilty of allocating my time inappropriately for things that don't necessarily matter. But I'm aware of that, and I'm getting better at certain things. And even if I say something to get it out, like I'm getting it out and then I move on from it. But I feel like if I hold it in, then I'm like holding on to it. So fortunately, unfortunately, you're on the other end of me getting something out, right? And working through it in real time and then whatever. But I don't feel, you know, it's almost like when the water was on the stove the other day. Like for me, because I'm so tired of asking everyone in this house, like, you know, who did that, and you get no answer, and you get a bunch of, I didn't do it, I haven't been home all day. But like that, the time investment into asking everyone separately as they're coming in and staggering, the time it takes to do that, I'd rather just clean it up or not. But I don't feel like getting to the bottom of it. So for me, when it comes to certain things, you know, certain thing for me, certain things are teachable moments. Not everything is a teachable moment. And I don't feel when you say something is a teachable moment for me to be like, see how you said it? I think you should say it this way.
But if it bothers
makes me
you, then why not?
I guess my issue,
and it's no real example because I don't do it, right? And I think
things will bother you and you'll bring it up. And my issue
in terms of I don't like there's nothing for you to pinpoint me to say that bothers you. But for example, right? And I don't want to stay here too long. But for example, right? Say I'm texting someone that I haven't, you know, spoken to in a couple of days via phone or via text, right? Or even sending an email, right? Typically when you send a text, it's either, you know, it's hello, good morning, grand rising, whatever your header is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start the message off that way, right? And then you get into whatever it is that you want to converse about. I have to catch myself, right? Because I pick up my phone, I have this thought, I need to get this thought out, and I send, right? But there's times when I do that, but there's no hi, there's no hey, there's no introduction, right? Or there's no, not introduction, there's no greeting. For some people, right? Like, it's, damn, you can't say hi first? Like, shit, you know? They consider that rude. I catch myself, like, I'll send it and I'm like, and then I'll go back and be like, oh, snap, my bad. You know, hey, how are you? Or, you know, I forgot to say good morning, good morning. I'll catch myself and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want it to be a thing where it's like, that's rude. Because I know what I feel like if you are coming at me or, you know, to say something to me and there's no, like, I feel away.
I agree with that point, but you know, I think it's nothing for me to argue. I guess it's just a matter of just trying to keep that in mind, you know. But it
But I guess
it
one would say
makes it like damn, you know, like
I think you kind of just need to get out your own way in that regard, because if
I'm
you
not in
can
my own
give,
way.
if you can be pleasant and treat everyone else with those pleasantries, then you should be able to do the
But it's
same
not an
thing at
unlimited
home.
24-hour filter, Leah. Like
And let me
I
be
am a
honest.
certain
And
I'm
let me
not
be
I'm
honest.
my way across the board. Like
Eh,
I don't put on
let me be honest, right? Like, because you're saying 24 hours, right? And the reality is that unless everybody is at home and in each other's presence for those amount of hours, then that's the only time you can use that. But the reality is
you're
that
hearing that different. I'm saying me putting on for 24 hours. So in the world, I'm putting on for 12 hours. And at home, I'm here for 12 hours. And I have to still put
so
on.
for 4 hours, right? Because out of those 12, you're gonna get 8 hours of sleep.
No,
So for 4
I don't
hours,
get 8
okay,
hours of
so let's
sleep.
say 5.
Last night I got 3 hours.
That was your choice.
I'm not blaming anybody.
So
But
let's not
like I
talk
don't get
about
8 hours of
let's
sleep.
not talk about last night.
I don't get 8 hours of sleep.
Awesome. So we'll say 6 to 5.
Okay.
Well, we'll say 7 to 6.
Okay.
Right.
So 6 hours.
So out
at
of
home,
the
I have to still
6
put
hours, out of the 7 hours at, so you're home for 8. So you can't adjust yourself for 2.
That's not true. Yeah.
You're home
Because
for
when I
8
come in
and
the
you're sleeping
house,
for 6. My point is, you can't adjust for 2.
I guess if you look at it, I mean, yeah. I'll take this conversation as a reminder. I mean, you know.
I think the other thing that I got from this thing was basically like valuing the wife's input. Do you think that's important, to value your spouse's input?
Sure it is.
Oh, okay.
But it's not a blind, like, you value input, and you know, we all have 2 ears. The same with you. Just because I mean, there's plenty of things that I say that, like, I think you'll hear me. That doesn't mean you're listening, or that doesn't mean that you take it and now apply it. And there's a million examples of things that you have not applied that I've said.
Oh, that's interesting, but that's
For sure, Leah. But even you saying that, right? I feel like
a million is crazy, and
Leah, it's not literally
Okay.
1,0. Like, come on, right? But I'm not gonna say 10 things. It's more than 10. And this gets into the argument of, like, and it's broad strokes and whatever, but
so
like,
we'll talk about this off air, because I'm very curious to know what these million things are that I don't apply. But
I don't want to talk about it. I
do, because I don't like these things.
The way I process in my mind, Leah, like, there's a ton of things. I mean, there's, you know,
there's a million.
The
more
way
than 10,
I
or
process
more than a
and
million?
think and problem solve and fixer, your mind doesn't work that way. I don't think that's a secret. There's certain strengths that you have that are not my strengths.
Absolutely.
And vice versa. And I appreciate, and this is back to, like, I feel like the way I appreciate and respect your strengths that are my weaknesses, you don't in turn appreciate my strengths that are you don't see them as your weaknesses. When it comes to organization, we are not the same. When it comes to time management, we are not the same. I feel like in your world, you do see us the same, or you see us as equal. And if you defer to me of, like, okay, right? If it's, we got to be somewhere, okay, this is what time we got to leave. I got to make sure I'm ready by this time. Or
so
if blah, 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 or if it's
Mhm.
something that needs to be done, let Daniel handle that, because he'll, like, we won't be late, or he won't deliver it late. Like, you know, if you give me a letter and said this has to be mailed by the end of the day, I will mail it before I even start my day, because I want to make sure that that's done.
Well, I've done that and you forgot, but not all the time, right? So again, but the thing is that you're human. I think for me, we all are. We both are, I should say. But I don't.
I forgot.
You did. And it's okay, right? Like, I didn't get on your back about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay
for your memory to be what it is, but to remember that,
I
to
remember
be able to
that
say,
because it happened recently. It happened not too
Leah,
long
you
ago.
gave me a letter and I mailed it before I went into the office. That's a fact. I
Okay.
remember walking there and
But
doing
not
it.
the same day that I gave it to you.
Yes.
No, because we had a conversation about it and you told me you forgot. You said, "Is it important for me to do it? Is it was it did you asked
Unless
me
you
if
gave
it
me
was
two
time
things.
sensitive?"
Yeah. And I was annoyed that you gave it to me time
It
sensitive
doesn't matter.
because it reminds me of my mother asking me for shit that's due the day of.
But
I don't like, but that's time management. I don't like that.
But that's
don't do that don't put that on me. I don't like it.
So it
I don't do
wasn't
that to you.
due,
I don't say, hey babe, I need you to do such and such. It's due by 5. I never do that to you because I hate that. So when it comes to do unto others
that's not what happened.
Do unto others what you want done to you. I don't do certain things by law because I don't like it.
Do other things,
I don't do stuff
right?
to inconvenience somebody's schedule because I don't like when it's done to me.
So
there's not anyone walking around that can say, oh, I don't do that. I'll inconvenience myself.
Yeah.
Because it's my problem.
Same. Right?
That's okay. Okay. That's what that, yeah. We can continue. I feel like for you to say same, Leah, is not like that's not.
If I ask you,
that's not an honest thing to say.
It's very fucking honest, and I'll tell you why it's honest. Now, have I asked you to do stuff that may be inconvenience to you? Absolutely. I feel like we've absolutely done it to each other, and it's not an intentional thing. And I don't want to hear you say it's not an unintentional thing. It's not an intentional thing where it's like, oh, let me just be an ass and ask him because I don't feel like doing it. It's, hey, this other thing happened and I'm calling on my partner to help me so that it can be done. When you ask me to do something for you, I don't look at it as an inconvenience, even if it does put me out of my way a little bit. It's me, for me, it's me being able to help my partner so that everything else can be seamless and smooth. But that's what a partnership is. You are supposed to be able to hold your own, but also lean on each other. Not in a way where it's taking advantage of one another, but that's just what a partnership is. That's what a partnership is to me, anyway.
So I agree with the clip, and I think there's some stuff in there to like unpack in different ways. But I think that interesting that I'm sure that there's men that feel, because there was a couple of different topics we talked about. Do you have like closing? Do you have your Leah word of the day?
No, I don't.
Jesus. Well, so
clearly
again,
you don't either.
Huh?
I said clearly you don't either.
I mean, I don't typically like close with the like the Jerry Springer word of the day, but goes without saying, condolences and sincere thoughts and light to those impacted by the fires, and the families and all of the destruction, and on top of the destruction and devastation and grief and memories that were destroyed. You have the bullshit of the litigation and the you feeling like you were secured and insured, and now you're fighting with the very people that you have been paying for 15 years. So I can't even imagine what that feels like. There's so many different relief efforts. In addition to that, there's so many people who are being fucking complete scumbags and, having scam links and GoFundMes and all the dumb shit that people do. And it just shows just how vile people can be in moments of weakness and tragedy. So, yeah. So be kind. The world is the country is in a very interesting place. And just, the more we can be kind, even if you don't feel like being kind to your neighbor, be kind to yourself and whatever that means to you. Pour into yourself, try to stay in the light as much as possible. Life is going to life, and it seems like it's lifing at a 10 times speed at the moment. So, put your seatbelt on, head on a swivel, be kind to yourself, and we'll see y'all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. You know what it is. WEDLocked and loaded. Yeah.
WEDLocked and loaded.
You can suck your whole family, mom, sister, and watch Uncle Steve suck himself.
WEDLocked and loaded.
WEDLocked and loaded.